Hey guys, the next time you make £1,000 or $1,000, what are you going to spend that money doing? Here's what tends to happen for people, depending on the type of mindset that they've got for themselves. So, quick illustration here. I've got income, expenses, assets, and liabilities. People who have a poor mindset, remember this is about mindset, tend to do this. They'll earn their income, and that income gets spent immediately on expenses and disappear. They essentially spend that money keeping up with other people, essentially living their lifestyles led by other people. Then you've got people who have that kind of middle class mindset. Essentially, those guys generate their income, use that income to acquire more liabilities, things that essentially keep them trapped even more so, and that liability creates more expenses, and their money ends up disappearing. So those people with that middle class mindset essentially use that income to acquire more liabilities. Whereas those people who have a bit more of a wealthy mindset essentially do this. They use their income to acquire some assets. Those assets then create more income for them, which they then use to service their expenses or their liabilities. For today's video, I want to share with you 5 places I would spend £1,000 or $1,000. Where should that money be going? And for today's video, I really want to look at wealth more broadly, because oftentimes when we think about money and think about wealth, we only think about money itself. Whereas the subject of wealth is actually much more broader and covers various other areas. If you're loving the sound of today's video, I'd really appreciate you doing one thing for Mary and I here in our channel. Please hit that subscribe button. You might actually think you're subscribed because you watch our videos, perhaps on a regular basis, and think you're already subscribed. Kindly check and please hit that subscribe button, because every single one really helps us. And whilst you're there, hey, if you're loving today's video, please hit the like button as well. I'm going to go straight in, as I usually do every week, keeping these videos completely real, looking for my thing to scrub to clean this up. And the very first tip I wanted to start with, I've made a few notes and I'm using this board again in a minute. The very first tip is for you to upgrade your knowledge, okay? Let me explain what I mean here. I was listening to a podcast episode by Stephen Bartlett, who runs the Diary of a CEO podcast and platform more generally. And something that he said on that episode I was watching, I think he was interviewing a lady called Cody Sanchez. Something he said really spoke to me and gave me a way to actually explain this point, because I'm always looking for really great ways of illustrating things for you guys, for you to stick in your minds. And something he said when it came to upgrading your knowledge was, he used the phrase that you need to look behind the curtain. So he was speaking to someone and there was a curtain to his right, and he was saying how you need to look behind the curtain. What he was really saying there is that through our lives, what we sometimes need to do, or what we actually need to do, is look behind the curtain. By that I mean, you need to find someone who knows something, or people who know what you don't know. Because there's certain bits of knowledge that aren't easily accessible to people, that you need to actually take that one step further in order to access that knowledge. And the way you access that knowledge, by going behind the curtain and going to actually learn what it really takes, that one thing or a couple of things that might actually cause that great shift in your life, the way you do it varies. So for example, you could volunteer. I've talked about this. In fact, in this room, we had a 15-year-old who came to do work experience, and we taught him almost everything we knew in 5 days. Everything from how to build an online business, how to grow it for a 15-year-old, how to invest, how to make money grow, to understand compound interest, understand how to set goals. Or we had essentially a curriculum over 5 days for this one young 15-year-old. His name's Daniel. Daniel got behind the curtain simply by asking. Not saying you should ask me, by the way, because I don't want to get bombarded. But his parents asked and we said yes. So for you, how are you going to get behind the curtain? And on that podcast episode, there was a suggestion which I actually quite liked, and I've talked about this on this channel, which is find the people who are not, the most well-known people. The people who run the basic, boring businesses, the people who might even run like I've got someone who does window cleaning, near us. You might have a similar person. They run a window cleaning business. Get behind the curtain and learn how that business works. Ask them, if you can volunteer in some capacity. Another way you can use your £1,000. Notice you haven't even paid anything here. Another way you can actually use your £1,000, actually pay to learn. Whether you're getting into someone's community or whether you're paying, if you find someone who you love what they do, pay for their product or service. In that window cleaning example I gave you, pay for their window cleaning offering. Yeah. If it's someone who's based online, pay for their product, whatever it is they've got. That gives you much more leverage when it comes to the conversation and getting behind that curtain. Yeah. The second broader way of upgrading your knowledge is obviously to read books. And I've talked about that at length, and I'm not going to go into a lot of detail here, but key areas of reading that really stand out to me are money, obviously, as a subject area. So reading money books. Not all of them are great, but there are some good money books out there. I'll put a link below and above to our list of books we love. Feel free to go and check it out if you want. Books on selling, learning the skill of selling, learning the skill of marketing. Essentially, skills that will remain evergreen, even in the face of artificial intelligence and so on. Skills that make you much more highly valuable, because everything comes back to value. That's tip number 1. Okay. Tip number 2 for what to upgrade is to upgrade your investing. Okay. And this is where I needed my board to kind of illustrate something to you guys real quick. Okay. Imagine, let's say, for example, that you're someone who, let's pick one of your joys. Yeah. Because, for me, this is actually a really important topic, because the whole point of money shouldn't just be a thing that we just acquire and hoard. Money should help you design a life of financial joy, as Mary and I refer to it. Let's say, for example, that one of your joys is that once a week you like to treat yourself to a pastry, a really nice pastry. Like, I remember going to work when I had my corporate job, and I'd stop off at Charing Cross, and I loved stopping off at Paul. I think it's called Paul. Anyway, I'd buy this pastry with pistachio nuts in it or whatever. Let's say that that's what you love doing, and that's your and that thing costs you. Let's say your little pastry thing, that's a pastry, right? Let's say that's that. Let's say your pastry costs you £3 a week. That's your joy. That's what brings you joy. And of course, this could be any example, but I'm just using pastry as an example before, I get the pastry police in the comments. Let's say it's £3, yeah, per week, yeah. Times 4 is £12, yeah. £12 a month. Again, this is an illustration. And then in a year, times 12 is £144. Let's say your pastry joy, your small joy, the thing that no one can negotiate for you and take away from you is costing you £144, yeah? You could actually invest money such that that money invested creates dividends, a form of income that affords you this joy, this small joy in your life. Let's say you invested that £144. Let's say you invested money to give you £144 of income. A good way to work that out is essentially take 144 divided by, say, a yield, let's say 4%. So 0.04, yeah? And in this example, if you work that out, it will work out to be £3,600 is what you'd need to have invested for that to yield 4% per year for you to get your £144 that you might then spend every month, £12, to give you £3 per week on your pastry. You get the point. This is just an illustration. But essentially what I'm saying here is that one way to look at that £1,000 is to use that £1,000 to invest in assets that create you an income, okay? And that income can then be used for your lifestyle. Start with one area of joy in your life. And from that one area of joy, you can then move on to another area of joy, yeah? And before you know it, you could have some really interesting parts of your life in terms of your costs and expenses covered by your investing, yeah? So that's a second piece of advice. My third recommendation from an upgrade perspective is to upgrade your health. Okay. Now, I told you that we look at wealth holistically. Yeah, it's not just about money, because if you think about it, I've had people pass away this year. Even on this hand, I can count quite a few people already passed away. And for me, it's a very, very sad realization. Even last night, my really good friend, her dad passed away. Yeah. Now, I'm saying this to say that a lot of the time we think about just money, saving, investing, all these things. But like, if I want to be real with you, what you need to get sorted out in addition to your money is to get your health in shape before it's too late. Yeah. So if I had that £1,000 and I wanted to upgrade something in my life, I'd be looking to upgrade, create a space at home. Like we've just done a home gym. Some of you might have seen on our Instagram over at the Humble Penny. If you're not following us there, please head over there and check it out. I'll actually link below and above, and Mary might be able to put something up on the screen. I don't know. But go and check it out, because that home gym didn't cost us a lot of money. Even though it was a room and we had to convert the room, you know, it didn't cost us a lot of money at all to get there. In fact, it cost, I think, about just under £4,500 to create that, to save us money. And we funded that from selling various things at home, as well as saving money in our own right and so on. So my point here is, if I had £1,000, I'd spend like, you know, say £300 on buying really good quality dumbbells. I'd spend another £300 on this system called TRX, X for X-ray. Go and check it out. Go and Google it. Basically, you exercise on using your own body weight. We've got that system at home as well that I really enjoy. Then I'd spend the remainder on something like a good quality bike, you know, like a kind of a Peloton, you know, type bike that you can use. Something that's affordable that you can use. But essentially, you get the point here. I'm just giving you random examples, but you need to upgrade your health. Anything that means that you're eating well and exercising well is where I'd be putting that money into. Number 4 is to upgrade your debt-free goals. Okay, a lot of people right now are essentially paying the minimums across all their debts. Yeah, because as interest rates rise, people feel completely out of control. And so what they're able to do right now is just to pay for their minimums. A really good example, I did a workshop at the American Express office at Canary Wharf last week. Yeah, there were about 40 young people aged between 17 and 30. And it was interesting when we got to student loans. And I had these guys work out their net worths, each of them. And it was a really enlightening experience, really insightful. A lot of people were like, wow, they've never done this before. But when we got to student loans, it was a bit of a weird one, because people were like, well, you know, I don't know if it's a debt, I don't know if this, I don't know if this. And here's the question I ask people, and I'm asking you this question. Do you know what you are paying in interest on your student loan right now? Do you know what rate you're paying? There were people in that session who checked, yeah, and found that they're paying around 7% on their student loans. Now, here's the thing I've got. I've made a student loan video, by the way, which we'll link to below and above. You know, feel free to watch it. But the point here is, being ignorant about our debts more generally is a problem. You need to know your numbers. You need to know what's happening with your student loans, what's happening with your credit cards, what's happening with your overdraft, what's happening with your buy now and pay later, or your other forms of debt. You need to know what on earth is happening, yeah? And tackle those debts right now. So for me, upgrading my debt-free goals looks like this. I want to tackle those expensive pieces of debt, or even consider overpaying on my mortgage. So a bit of action step for you right now is go and actually check what rate you're paying. And if you're someone who is earning a high income relatively, so you're a higher rate taxpayer, for example, and you expect to keep earning high in the foreseeable future, maybe for the next decade, for example, it might be in your interest to really take paying off those debts pretty seriously, because as interest rates rise, those rates also rise over time. The 5th thing I would upgrade would be to upgrade your emergency savings. We shared on our communities tab on YouTube, which I absolutely love, by the way. For everyone who engages in our communities tab, massive love to you, because we learn so much and we have fun sharing on there. We shared some research from the Money and Pension Service that showed that 25% of all UK adults have less than £100 in savings. I mean, if that doesn't shock you, I mean, that completely silenced me when I saw it. But we shouldn't be surprised, because think about what's been happening. People's savings have been depleted. as the cost of living rises. Yeah, to the point where even people who are earning high incomes are living paycheck to paycheck. And we made a video about that, which I'll link to below and above for you to head over and check out. So what to be doing with your £1,000, if I was considering doing that, would be to upgrade my emergency savings, to try and rebuild, to get me back to a point where I've built up at least 3 months of essential expenses as an emergency fund. But I want to hear from you guys in the comments. What would you upgrade with your £1,000 or $1,000 and why? Jump in the comments and let us know. If you are someone who's new to our channel or you've been watching our channel for some time, I hope this video spoke to you and gave you value. And if you did, would really appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button. Thank you guys so much for watching today's video. And as always, in all things, be thankful and seek joy. Take care. Much love from me and Mary. Bye for now.